Okay, welcome everyone, including those watching our live stream, to this celebration of the remarkable Sister Charlotte Rohrbach. Sister Charlotte gave 42 years of her life to Newman University, and we are a better institution because of her service to us. Because I know there's a lot of people that want to say something here, I'm trying to keep my comments to just one thing, but I couldn't narrow it down, so I have two comments. One, Sister was not a patient person. And so oftentimes she would know to call me at the end of the day because my schedule wasn't quite as crazy. And she would call or text and say, could you just give me a ring when you have a minute? And I would text her back right away. Oh, I'm on my way to the car. I'll call you when I get home. And I wouldn't be 4 minutes down the road and the phone was ringing and it was Sister. And what that really said to me is she had an urgency of purpose, right? There was so much that she wanted done right now and yesterday. And I really appreciate that about her. I think that's part of how she accomplished so much, was that sense of urgency. And the second thing was, I'm the newbie here. And so I am trying to get all of her stories in my head. And one day I said to her, Sister, I wish we could just do one of those Vulcan mind melds so that I could capture all of your stories. But I was relaying something that I thought I understood, and she just looked at me and said, no, that's not how it is. The thing of it is that.
Yes.
And then the rest of the correct story. So with Sister, you not only had to get things done quickly, but you had to be exactly correct when you were relaying things. And I think both of those are things that endeared her to me. I am not the most patient person, so I understand that. And I like things to be correct as well. So although I probably knew Sister Charlotte less than most anybody that's here, she made a tremendous imprint on this new president, and I'm very grateful for her presence for the first half of my year here. Today's celebration will be about remembering the wholly unique person that Sister Charlotte was. And we will be inviting those in the room to share their special memories. But before we do that, I would like to invite Dr. Kim Long and Father Adam Grellinger to proclaim two readings from sacred scripture. These readings were used at the funeral for Sister Charlotte. A reading from the book of Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the afflicted, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, release to the prisoners, to announce a year of favor from the Lord and a day of vindication from our God, to comfort all who mourn, to place on those who mourn in Zion a diadem instead of ashes, to give them oil of gladness instead of mourning, a glorious mantle instead of faint spirit.
A reading from the Gospel of John. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Amen, amen, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. Whoever loves life loses it, and whoever hates his life in this world will preserve it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there also will my servant be. The Father will honor whoever serves me.
Thank you, Dr. Long and Father Adam. I would now like to invite Mark Manette, Professor of Theater and current Faculty Senate President, up to the podium.
Hello, I'm here today on behalf of the Faculty Senate, and we've put together a letter that we'd like to present to the family of Sister Charlotte. And in a moment, I'm going to read some of the highlights of that letter. It's kind of an abridged version for time's sake. But before I do that, I wanted to say a personal note is I likely wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for Sister Charlotte, as she was instrumental in the Bring Back Theater campaign that brought me here 10 years ago. And she was also extremely supportive all throughout those years, frequently attending most of the theatrical productions. So she will be deeply missed on a personal level. Here's some of the highlights. To the family of Sister Charlotte Rohrbach, ASC. The Newman University family grieves with you in the loss of Sister Charlotte, a dynamic individual and vibrant presence in our community. The Faculty Senate also joins with you in celebrating the life of Sister Charlotte. She made such a difference in this world and touched the lives of everyone she encountered. Though her loss is a significant blow for the Newman University community, we have been made richer by her legacy as a professor of history, a campus leader, and a bridge builder between our community and the Sisters of the Adorers of the Blood of Christ. For decades, Sister Charlotte was the go-to administrator when we had unexpected openings in academic affairs. Through the years, the faculty relied upon her leadership as academic dean, director of service learning, director of alumni relations, director of archives, director of mission effectiveness, and even as interim president of Newman University. Sister Charlotte was tireless in lifting up faculty, staff, and students in our mission at Newman, bringing together our community with her knowledge and zest for storytelling. Her freshman orientation appearances have become the stuff of NU legend. Perhaps above all, as a religious sister consecrated to the adoration of the blood of Christ, Sister Charlotte labored to ensure that Newman University participated in the broader mission of the Adorers. She had an infectious devotion to St. Maria de Matthias and routinely led the Newman community in praying St. Maria's prayer for God's providence. She longed for all of us at Newman to go about our work animated by the charisms of St. Maria's spirituality. She will be deeply missed. We are honored to have had the privilege to work so closely and to be inspired by her example. Sincerely, the Faculty Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark, for that beautiful letter honoring Sister. Indeed, I don't know anyone here who has been more inspirational. At Newman University, we pride ourselves in providing our students with the tools that they need to transform society. Sister Charlotte transformed society, not only through what she did, but through what her students did and will continue to do. She touched so many lives here in her 80 years on this earth. And before I invite those in the room to share their stories, I would like to share a video from 3 people whose lives were transformed by Sister Charlotte, but are unable to attend today. They are Bridget Campbell, 2012 ABLA Award winner, Newman alumna, Dr. and she's a Newman alumna. Dr. Noreen Carochi, former president of Newman, and Mr. J.T. Klaus, chair of the Board of Trustees and a Newman alumnus. So let's take a look at these videos.
Newman, and she was actually one of the first people I ever spoke to in regard to Newman University. She was on the scholarship committee for a scholarship I had applied for, so she and Rosemary Needens were the very first people I ever spoke to, and a big part of the reason why I decided to come to Newman. During my time at Newman, I learned a lot of life lessons from Sister Charlotte. A lot of them just from watching her and seeing how she led by example. One thing I would see her do multiple times, she was a fantastic leader. She would find a student or a student volunteer and give them a task or a job or a responsibility, and she would never micromanage. She would just tell you the expectations and what she wanted done, and then she would expect you to finish the task and to do it well. So that confidence and that empowerment that she gave to students really helped us learn how to take the lead and how to have pride in your work, and really taught us about what kind of a leader we would want to be in the future. So she really, truly did embody the vision of and the mission statement of Newman, which is, to empower graduates to go out and transform society. She really lived that out every single day.
Good afternoon. I truly regret that I can't be with everyone today to join in this celebration of a truly remarkable woman. And I'm very grateful for President Jagger's kind invitation to share some reflections with you all. The first time I met Sister Charlotte in 2007, within minutes we found out we had a dear friend in common, Sister Elizabeth Colmer, ASC, a retired St. Louis University professor who was Sister Charlotte's dissertation advisor and the first professor to welcome me as a new faculty member at SLU in 1979. Charlotte and I bonded over that crossover connection immediately. Thus, the first theme of my remarks. For Sister Charlotte, it was all about relationships. I was thrilled when she agreed to serve in yet 2 more new roles for Newman after all the others she'd done over the years, Director of Mission Effectiveness and Director of the Archives. And that's the second theme of these comments. Sister Charlotte embraced change and was what I call generative throughout her life. During the 12 and a half years I served as president, I went to Sister Charlotte probably hundreds of times for help with some aspect of Newman's history. And no matter the topic, I would learn something about the people involved. Sister Charlotte was a part of the web of Newman relationships for generations. It seems she never forgot a person or the details about them, their relationship to her, and of course to one another. And there was usually a funny story to go with the history she taught me. Of course, Sister Charlotte was quite memorable to all who met her. I discovered that whether or not it was an alum, a former Newman community member, or a member of the Wichita community, I would be asked, "How is Sister Charlotte these days?" Countless times over the years. As Sister Charlotte said in her 2019 remarks at commencement when we gave her an honorary degree, she valued her faith, her ASC and blood families, and her Newman family above all. Yes, indeed, she was all about relationships. Sister Charlotte had played so many roles for Newman over the decades: professor, dean, vice president, alumni director, interim president, service learning director, and most recently, before I joined Newman in 2007, as an advancement office fundraiser, helping to complete the successful campaign that built the Dugan Library and Conference Center. How easily she could have decided to retire in 2007 and say no to my ask to create 2 new roles for Newman. Well, actually, she'd be the first to correct me here, say she didn't create, but she recreated or resurrected the university's archives and Office of Mission Effectiveness. History professor Joyce Solentrop had been the university's first archivist, but when she left the university, the archives became dormant in 2000. Now, Sister Charlotte agreed in 2007 to take on this daunting task when she'd never been trained as an archivist. So she taught herself a new skill set. When Sister Charlotte finally decided she needed to cut back on her work for Newman in the summer of 2016, the archives were in great shape. She had created a comprehensive database using a software program which she taught herself how to use, and for the first time we could go there on our own to find out something about our history. Actually, I think this was a defensive move on Sister's part so that she wouldn't be peppered constantly with historical questions about Newman. Charlotte succeeded in generating an archives that will serve Newman for generations to come. What a fitting and huge part of her legacy with Newman. Now, the university hadn't had a mission effectiveness officer for many years when Sister Charlotte took on the role. From 2007 until this semester of 2021, Sister Charlotte provided mission orientation for all new students, new faculty, new staff, and new Board of Trustee members. She never tired of introducing new community members to St. Maria de Matias and the Adorers, and sharing how the Adorers and Newman's University's missions are so integrally woven. Until 2019, she organized and provided many of the mission talks at lunchtime 2 or 3 times a semester. Charlotte selected a new theme each year, in later years in consultation with committees she created, whether it be something on the Adorers' history or Newman's history related to our mission. These sessions were open to all and were well attended by students, faculty, staff, and alums. She also organized our opening of the year fall institutes nearly every year. It was Sister Charlotte's idea that we should transition from Cardinal Newman Week to Heritage Month, anchored by St. Maria's and St. Newman's birthdays, respectively. She also led the planning for our 75th anniversary and the creation of Founders Plaza in 2008, and was also deeply involved in the planning for Heimerman Plaza and the display case in Bishop Gerber Science Center. So just in the last 14 years, Sister Charlotte generated an incredible body of work that has had a huge impact on so many and will continue to affect us for years to come. I liked her office being close to mine in the heart of Sacred Heart Hall. So many of us made our way to her door often, whether it was to ask a question, seek advice, or just a shoulder. Sister Charlotte's heart was with us all, and while our hearts break to have her leave office here, her faith, no doubt, has led her to rejoice to be with our Lord, St. Maria, and all her adorer, family, and Newman friends who preceded her. Hold forth and rest in peace, Sister Charlotte. You've earned your place in a new office in heaven.
As the chair of the board of Newman University, it is with profound regret that I'm unavailable to help celebrate the life of Sister Charlotte Rohrbach. I met Sister Charlotte as Sister Mary Timothy when she was a young woman and I was a little boy. She was traveling with my aunt, Sister Charlotte Rohr. I wouldn't really meet her again until I got called into the academic dean's office as the president of Commison, the student government at Kansas Newman College, because I was in trouble. Sister Charlotte looked at me that day and she said, "JT, do you have a problem with our history professor?" And I said, "Sister, I haven't filed any complaint or anything." And she said, "No." She said, "I've had 2 other students file a complaint and a parent call me this morning. And when I asked them all what's wrong with our history professor, they all said, 'Just ask JT, he'll tell you.'" And so I did. I said, "Sister, she's teaching the wrong history. Yesterday, she insisted that Russia was one of the Axis powers during World War II, and I had to argue with her and correct her in class." And Sister looked at me and she said, I audited her class yesterday, and I know we have a problem. But JT, I need your help." She said, "When you're a leader, people listen to what you say and they take it to heart. And there's only 8 weeks left in the semester. She was taking my place because I became academic dean. She won't be here next semester, and I need your help to stop telling everybody what a bad teacher she is." And I agreed. And that was the first of many secrets that Sister Charlotte and I would keep over the course of my serving with her when we created the National Alumni Association, and she would introduce me to the likes of Jerry Colleen, Louis Camposani, to people like Tom Malone and Monty Vines. She and I would work together on the Center of Hope, and we would keep tons of little secrets about our success for those not-for-profits over the years. And we'd do that too when I joined the Board of Trustees, and she would become the Vice President of Mission Effectiveness. You know, Charlotte always liked the university seal, the Charity of Christ Urges Us seal, better than my Newman University logo that we created. But she'd be the only one who would always tell me she liked it better. And I'd always explain to her, but it doesn't look as good on the uniforms. Inside that seal, there's a lamp, the lamp of knowledge. And I'm pretty sure that with Sister Charlotte looking down on us, that lamp glows a little brighter than it ever has before. And I will miss her.
Wow. I would now invite anyone who would like to share a story to please do so by coming up to the microphone.
Well, many of you may not know me. I'm a 1983 alum of Friends University. You heard me correctly. But back then, I don't know if they still do, I hope they still do, they had a great partnership program between Friends and Newman. And I majored in history, so you can see where this is going. And I started taking classes here at Newman from a great professor named Dr. Sister Charlotte Rohrbach. And she became my favorite professor. And I graduated from Friends, like I said, in 1983. I went to Villanova Law School, and then I was 23 years in the United States Army as a JAG attorney in the Army. And when I retired in 2011 and came back to my home of Wichita, I came and met with Sister Charlotte because she had been a mentor of mine all those years. And this is very emotional for me. I'm sure nobody else knew about it, much like was just said. But she remembered me, and I certainly remembered her. And oh, by the way, I'm a convert to the Catholic faith, so I'll always remember her. Thank you.
Sister Charlotte always knew if there's a microphone, I would come for it. So, I knew Sister Charlotte from All Saints when she was Sister Timothy. I always introduced her as my, with all due respect to my other teachers here, as my favorite teacher. And she was. When I went to declare my degree my senior year in business, they said, "Do you want to declare a history degree?" And I said, "Well, probably not." They said, "Well, you've already got the classes to do it." Because I took every one of her classes and most of Sister T's too. So also had a history degree too. So I do want to tell you one funny story though. In an odd twist of fate, she actually worked for me for a couple years when I came to Newman as Vice President for Advancement. A little bit odd because I felt so much love for her. And through that course of time, I asked her for advice and history on donors. One of those donors lived back east, and I went to her and I said, "Sister, I see in Razor's Edge it's you and Tom Borrego went visit this donor." And she says, oh yes, Tom Borrego, yeah. Well, that's a whole different story. So I'll tell you that story later. So Tom can tell you the story, maybe. But I asked her about the donor, and she said yes. Said, yeah, we did. We went to visit them, and it was a White House, and it had had gray steps and had shutters on the side. And as you walked in the door, there was a tan carpet, and it wasn't all tan, it just had a little speck of red. But that red tied nicely to the couch they had, which was also red. Now the two love seats didn't exactly go well. They weren't bad, they didn't go well. Because they were just a little different shade of tan. And so after a 5 or 10 minute dissertation of everything in the room, you know, she did get to every little detail that they talked about, almost word by word in the conversation. And I loved those conversations with her. They were immensely helpful in raising money. I just can't tell you how much I really liked her. I really did. When I had another opportunity to leave Newman a year and a half ago, the only person that I really regretted telling was Sister Charlotte. So, it wasn't easy, but I did. So, I love her, respect her, and I know she's in a better place, and Noreen did a great job of telling about her, and it's all true. So, thanks for sharing her with us. Thank you.
Well, JV couldn't have set me up any better. I came to Newman, I believe, in '06, and Beely Cooper had hired me to take on the role of Vice President for Advancement, and I met Charlotte within that first week. And she was a flood of information and joy, demanding. I kind of just got out of her way a lot of the times. But the day in, day out with her, I mean, I probably spent more time with her than I do with my spouse at times. We became almost like a brother-sister relationship. And so JV's correct. We're getting ready to raise money for this building. And Charlotte goes, we've got certain places we have to go. And the first stop we went is to Chicago. And hello. and we stayed with her nephew and niece, and the most gracious family. And we sat there, and so I think we visited with a couple of donors there, but I remember we were doing laundry together, and I'm folding her laundry, and we're kind of getting this sort of camp feel to our relationship. And then we jump on the plane to go out east, and we go to Louie's place in Rhode Island. And we're there, and Louie brings out this big old jug of wine, and Charlotte whispers to me, and she goes, he's going to want to be up late tonight, so you're going to have to do that with him. And so Louie and I sat, and we were up till 2 or 3 in the morning. And next morning she laughed because she was smiling at me about what that had done to me. And but then the legend of this trip began as we rode from Rhode Island to New York, and we were going to meet with Jerry Colleen in Manhattan. And so this is before we had the GPS. We still had the paper maps. So I said, okay, Sister Charlotte, you're going to have to get this right so that we can make good time and get into New York by 6 o'clock, because it was a week after Thanksgiving, so Manhattan was crazy, parades and all that stuff. She goes, I got it. She did not have it. She did not have it. We got lost several times, her yelling at me yelling at her. She literally had the map in front of the windshield. And I could not see where we were going. And so by the time we arrived in Manhattan, she's mad, I'm mad. She's angry about the hotel because the hotel was quite costly and you just couldn't get around it. So we pull in, we get it to the front of the register, and I said 2 hotels for Tom Borrego and Sister Charlotte Rohrbach. The gentleman says to me, we have a problem. And I said, well, what is that? And she said, well, there's been a big snowstorm back in west, and these people can't fly out of Manhattan to go there, so they have to stay here. We can't kick them out. So we do not have 2 rooms. We only have 1 room. And I'm looking over at her, and because she's not near me, she's kind of a ways, and I'm looking at him, and I said, I've got a problem. And I said, I'm traveling with a nun. And he looks at me and he goes, I understand your challenge. I used to be an altar boy. So he goes, I've got this all taken care of for you. So I go to Charlotte and I said, this is what's happening. And she wrote it like a champ. Oh, no problem. This is going to work out just fine. So we go up to the room thinking he had found another room, but he hadn't. He had found a cot. And he brought the cot in. He goes, here, I'll put this cot in the room, and you and your guest can share this room together. I said, Charlotte, how are we going to do this? She goes, Borrego, quit whining. And she said, there's a bed here. It's a big bed. We can put pillows in the middle. You can stay here, and I'll stay there. And I told her, I said, that I can't do that. And so she's like, I guess you're going to have to sleep on that old uncomfortable cot. Yeah. So I told her, I said, okay, to get through this evening, we're going to go have a nice dinner. We'll have a nice bottle of wine. I'll get sleepy, and we'll go to sleep. And then we're going to go to Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral. So we do that. That went fine. I think I called my wife right before I was getting ready to go to bed, telling her the story, and she's laughing. And so the next day we get up. I said, sister, you're going to have to shower first. I'll wait and all of that. And I wish you could see this. So I'm watching ESPN, catching up on the scores. The bathroom door blows open. Steam is pouring out of the door. She says, I cannot take it anymore. I have to get out of this bathroom. And she's just, smoke's coming, or steam's coming through. And I'm shaking my head, and she goes, you are just fussing over nothing. Just calm down. So we got ourselves together and went to St. Patrick's. And I think I was just kind of staring, kind of looking at, and she was like saying things in my ear, and I couldn't hear her. And so the final, I'm going on and on, but the final part of the story is you will appreciate it. So we go to see Jerry Colleen, and we were going to ask her for a significant gift. And Jerry was wonderful. We met her at this place now by the Central Park, and it was just a great setting. And so we have the conversation, and then I present the proposal to Jerry. And Jerry goes, do you think I'm made of that kind of money? I mean, that was a line. And so sister goes, I told you it was too much. And that was the number she told me to put on that proposal. So anyway, I've been thinking about her, probably daily. But that's just one, that's probably the best story. But that's just one story. And the thing that I most appreciate about her is she wasn't afraid to tell you how she felt. The first time I met her, she told me, you're too pious. I'd never been told I was pious before. But it was that kind of just very straightforward, but with such love, and you just could not help but just want to be with her every day. And when I left Newman, I missed her dearly, cherished her letters, her annual letters to us, and wrote her and always told her that we would see her, and it said the same thing in December, and had hoped to see her once COVID was over, and just could not believe it. So I want to thank the family. I'm sure you've been told this. You've been given us a wonderful gift. She's just a generous gift, and we thank you for sharing her with us.
Hey, Borrego, I have to follow you. The reason she wasn't really worried about sleeping with you is she slept with me first. I could tell 100 stories about Sister Charlotte, and to her family, we feel like we know you because she always wrote about you first in every letter we ever received. She loved you so much. Thanks for sharing her. When I was married, we came from a small town in northwest Iowa, and there's no hotels there. And that's actually how I came to Newman, because the recruiters stayed in homes at the time, and I would always have to give up my bedroom because I was the only one with the only bedroom as an only girl in my family. And then the recruiter would stay there and I'd sleep on the couch, and that's how I came to this wonderful school. But when I got married, Charlotte agreed to come to my wedding, and she was a reader, and of course, no hotel. Well, the groomsmen stayed in one of the houses. There was no real hotel, so Charlotte was assigned to the bed with me. So that's why we slept together the night before my wedding. And she was a little freaked out about that. I didn't know what to do. And it was not a big bed. I'm sure it was a twin. But we made it, and I got married. I wonder if there's anyone in the room who was asked to do something by Sister Charlotte who was able to say no. Hands up, anybody, anywhere, online, anywhere? Charlotte always knew. Oh, you told her no? Which, you're gonna have to tell that story, Andy. She always knew exactly what you're gonna do for her and what your skills would be allowing you to do for her. And my big job was to run the volunteers for the Renaissance Fair the year that I was pregnant with my second daughter. And so when she mentioned it, well, the Renaissance Fair is in the spring, and at the time she asked, I wasn't very pregnant, but I was a little concerned. Oh, it'll be fine, I'll help you all the way along. And as we got closer and I got more pregnant, it's going to be fine. We have a great pre-med program, so we are going to have a midwifery tent on the Renaissance Fair grounds. My daughter was born 42 hours after the close of the Renaissance Fair. I did not have to use the tent. Glad you covered that, Charlotte. I've never been so grateful that her pre-planning was not needed. What a wonderful person. She always knew how to help you understand why what she was going to teach you was important. And I think that's what drew us into her classes, into the knowledge she shared, whether as a teacher, as an administrator, as in every one of her roles. She knew what you could bring to the table. She knew how to help you and encourage you to do the most that you could. And she taught you every second of the way. Love you, miss you. Grateful to you.
Madam President, I hope we're not getting too long, but I'll quickly try to get through this because this is a fun one. She's something else. And she's listening. I guarantee you she's got something tuned in. I'm Larry Steckline. I was on the board here for about 8-10 years, and I've got so many stories we could stay here till dinner time. But this one comes back to me time and time again. How many of you have ever attended the party on the Ponderosa? Oh, really? That was one of the most fun things I got involved with here. To dig up some money for students to come to this great university. And we dug up a lot of money. In fact, it was about $100,000 every year that we cranked into the bank for kids to come see us. If you remember, we had either 1 or 2 years where I talked to a good friend of mine, Joe Hedrick. How many of you have been to the Kansas State Fair and to the pig races? Let me see your hands. I talked him into bringing his pig races to our party on the Ponderosa one time. Now, the way this worked is you bet on the 4 pigs that ran the race. They were small pigs, piglets, weighed 25 pounds. But boy, were they fun. They've only been at the fair 27 years. People do not get tired of it. And for me to talk Joe into bringing all that down there was quite a feat, and I was pretty proud of it. Until about the 3rd or 4th race, I heard the doggonest yell you ever heard in your life. Here comes Sister Charlotte running through the pasture. As much as she could run. I won! I won the pig, Larry, I won the pig. I said, what do you mean you won the pig, sister? Your pig won the race, right?
I won the pig. Now the deal was you paid $2 to bet on the pig. If your pig won, you got your $2 back plus another $2. Well, most people didn't even take it because they knew the $2 was going to go get somebody coming to Newman. So we made all kinds of money, except this sister had a different idea. I said, sister, you won the race. You didn't win the pig. So go get your $2 and you'll get another $2 back. And when I looked in her eyes, I wasn't getting anywhere. So help me God. To this day, I have no idea what she thinks in heaven about that race. I finally gave up. I said, sister, why do you want the pigs? Oh, we're having something at Newman, and I want to have a cookout. I've been planning this for 3 or 4 months. This is just perfect for my cookout. I bought a pig from the slaughtering place over at Goddard. A 300-pounder. Do you know how long that 25-pound pig would have lasted at that? Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, I do not know to this day whether she all figured it all out or not, and who cares, right? It was a good deal for Newman.
It won't take but a minute. I would just be so remiss if I did. I'm not a talker. I would just be remiss if I didn't share a few things about Sister Charlotte. I came to Newman in 1998, so of course I met her then. And the president in 2000 told me that at that time she was serving as interim dean of faculty, and he said, "You're going to serve as her support staff." Nobody knew, but I was terrified of her. I didn't really know her personally, but she just seemed so authoritative, and it didn't take long before I just fell in love with her, and we just had the best time together, and I missed her deeply when I no longer got to report to her. And over the years, we got very close. My daughter went on, she was a student here at Newman, and she did service trips, I think 2 with Sister Charlotte, and when Sister passed, Kelly called and she said, "Mom, I'm just so sad. I'm so glad I have those memories." She said, "And Sister would just get so annoyed with us." And she always loved our student workers. Of course, part of their job description is you will support Sister Charlotte. And when we hired an international student from Brazil, and I took him in to meet her, and we turned to leave, and she said, "Tracy," she goes, "You did good." And the same student called when he learned of her passing, and he was very upset because he had gotten also very attached. So just little things like that. She just touched so many people's lives. And my meetings with her would often start with pictures of new nieces or babies in the family, or weddings, and I always felt so honored that she wanted to share those things with me. And most of you, I've been at Newman since '98, and she came to my wedding and offered the prayer and the blessing. And I've always told her, "You were my honored guest." I didn't have my mom at that time, and she sat right there next to me and would touch me when she knew I needed to be touched, and I really deeply miss her. And again, what everybody else has said, I'm just so thankful for those years that we had together.
I'm Sister Angie, and I've known Sister Charlotte for 65 years. and we came to the convent together. We were classmates, and so I know her really well, okay? She, as everyone says, was a wonderful woman. And I lived also with her for 30 years, okay? And so I know how dedicated she was to Newman. I mean, she gave her life, soul, heart, body, everything to Newman. And there were times when she was so tired. I said, do you really have to go to that activity? Yes, I do. And she would go over, you know, when she was tired or anything, because she just felt so responsible and so dedicated to Newman. And one time I said to her, you're not indispensable, I said. What if you fall over dead, I said, what would they do? And she said, I don't know. And you know what? Today, hearing everybody, Charlotte, you are indispensable in so many ways.
Good to see so many familiar faces. My name is Josh Chilson. I'm a 2003 alum. I flew in a couple days ago from Clearwater, Florida to be here with all of you to mourn Sister Charlotte, to celebrate her life. It's been a hard couple weeks. I know we all feel a tremendous void. We all loved her. We also owe so much to her for what she gave to us. I want to share a few stories. First, I remember when I first met her, it was the 2001 Renaissance Fair, and I heard all these wonderful stories about Sister Charlotte and all the things she'd done on campus. It was rather intimidating, like we heard earlier. And another legendary Newman community member, Colleen Gillen, sent me over on a golf cart to go pick up Sister Charlotte from the convent. She'd been in sabbatical in Rome, and I'd never met her, and we were picking her up, and she was just the most warm person. And she, oh, Josh, I've heard wonderful things about you, and it's like we'd known each other for years. Fast forward a couple years, Sister Charlotte became the director of service learning, and I was an ASC Community Leader Scholar in the first class of ASC Community Scholars, so thank you, sisters, for that. My twin brother Jason and I both were. Sister Charlotte became director of service learning, and for several years I had gone to Guaymas, Mexico, to the Franciscan mission in Mexico on these service learning trips that had been organized by a wonderful alum by the name of Greg Beltz. Many of you may know Greg. When Sister took charge of the service learning department, she came to me and she said, you know, I have this idea. And she said, this Guaymas trip is an amazing thing, and I know you've gone many years, Josh, and I know so many other students have, and it's been a wonderful experience, and it's taught students so many things about giving back. But I think we can make it a little bigger, and I think we can make it a little better, and I think one thing we can do is let's make it a student-run trip, a student-organized trip. So we flew down on a little turboprop plane from Phoenix to Hermosillo, Mexico, and started planning this trip. Learned how to raise money, learned how to organize committees, and I think that trip, we took 25 or 30 students, which we'd always been 10 or 12 of us before. But, you know, her plan with that was, let's turn these students into lifelong servant leaders. And let's give the students the tools to give back and to be people that always valued and always wanted and would be able to go out into their communities in life later and runs and plan similar trips and do similar acts of service. So Sister Charlotte was an amazing woman. She's definitely earned her wings and her eternal life above. So thank you all.
Hello, my name is Bill Roman, and I think maybe Sister Angie has 10 years on me. I've known Sister Charlotte for 55 years. And the reason I know her for that long is when my wife and I were going to get married, she had the assignment, my wife went to Southeast, and she had Sister Charlotte had the assignment of giving her, I guess, I don't know what it's called now, but it's like back then, I guess it was like catechism or something. But anyway, for marriage, and we got married at All Saints under Monsignor Hurdle. And let me back up a little. When I was the baby in my family, and my mother started me in school when I was 4 years old. So that tells you a little bit of something. But anyway, I went to a public school for kindergarten, and I went, there was a school on 23rd Market that was called Our Lady of Perpetual Help. And I went there in the 1st and 2nd grade. And the nuns there were pretty rough. Anyway, they were on pretty rough on us students. Anyway, after my 2nd grade year, I told my parents that if I had to go back to Our Lady, I was going to quit school. And she sent me back to the public school, and that's where I blossomed. But no. When I had a very bad experience with nuns, and when Blanche was about to finish up her exercises there at All Saints, she said, "Sister Charlotte wants to meet you." And I said, "Nope." And she probably asked me for a good month, and I kept saying no, and I finally gave in. I thought, well, it'd be a good way to start our venture, and I did. And Sister Charlotte gave me a whole new look at nuns. Blanche introduced us, and the first thing she said, "Nice to meet you," and then she said, "Do you want a beer?" And there, this habit wearing the whole shebang, "Do you want a beer?" I said, "Ooh, yeah." So we started off on on the right step. I just wanted to share that. She will be missed. Thank you. My wife has cut her hair for 55 years, and she's just a wonderful woman, but she was one that was direct, knew what she wanted, and wanted it then. And that's what I admired about her. She made my wife a wiser woman, and she kind of softened my tone a little bit. So anyway, thank you.
Well, I thought I could do this. I'm Martha, just one of her nieces. I'm not the spokesperson for the family, but all of you have shared and thanked us. And so I just want to take this opportunity, because I wanted to and never got up there before, and just say thank you guys for letting us be a part of you, because all your stories have been told to us, and now we know the rest of the story. And I'm grateful to hear that some of our Rohrbach ways are treasured. And so I just want to thank you guys, and thank you for including us and letting us be a part as well, because as you know, she is deeply missed by us as well.
Well, I want to thank everybody who came today to listen and who came today to share. It's always wonderful to hear stories about Sister Charlotte. This is just a sliver of the impact that she had on people here at Newman, on everyone she met. And so I think we'd like to now close this part of this afternoon with two of Sister Charlotte's favorite activities. Praying and drinking wine. So I'd like to invite Sister Teresa and Sister Tarcisia Rods to close our service.
Thank you, Dr. Jagger. The prayer we're going to pray is, you have on your sheets, the remembrance prayer. It seems so fitting for Sister Charlotte and for all who we love who've gone before us. So I will read the first part, and then if you would do the response in caps, please. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember. In the opening of buds and in the warmth of summer, we remember. In the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now part of us as we remember. All right, what's going to happen now is, I believe, yes, people are coming in with trays that have glasses of wine. You are to take, my understanding is we'll have a tray that has red and a tray that has white. No? Only red? Okay. Only red. So if you want to be part of the toast, take a glass, and we will wait till everybody has had a chance to have a glass in hand before Sister Tarcisia leads us in toast. We aren't sure when Charlotte developed her great appreciation for wine. Family might shed light on this. From little on?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
It was part of family celebrations.
Yes.
Okay. We're sure it was honed during her sabbatical year in Rome. Because wine is part of every lunch meal and every evening meal if you want it, even at the convent. I mean, it's their water, right? Wine is their water. So it got, her appreciation was honed then. And then niece Vicky has a winery in Washington State, and Charlotte loved Vicky's wine. And Vicky was very generous in sharing with Charlotte the wine. So we are going to use this bottle as the means for the toast today. Vicky, we're hoping you're watching so that you see this too. Okay, so if you just sit still for a moment. They're coming around. We'll take this one and fill glasses up here, and then Sister Tarcisia will lead us in a toast. When we finish, we invite you to carry your glass with you to the reception, because there will be more wine that you can enjoy, and that way you'll have your glass in hand. If you did not receive a glass because somebody happened to miss you, hold up your hands so that they can bring you a glass too up here.
It is certainly a joy for me to raise a toast to Sister Charlotte Rohrbach. She was my friend for some 60 years. She was my other half in the history department for several years. Those were great years. And then she shared my passion for Newman University and all of its students and alumni. So we know that she will be remembered long, long years with great love and gratitude. To Charlotte.
Charlotte. Well, thank you again to all who came out this afternoon to celebrate Sister Charlotte. Whether you came in person here in the room or whether you're with us on live stream. For those of you who are here in attendance, alumna Jerry Colleen, whose name you heard mentioned multiple times today, class of 1969, and a member of our Board of Trustees, and alumna Diane Roman, class of 1969, have generously sponsored a reception that we are holding in the Macias Gathering space. Please feel free to join us as we continue to share stories about our dear Sister Charlotte. God bless you all. Newman loves you for being here, and so does Sister Charlotte.